Ind AS 113, fair value measurement and valuations. Remember, friends, as far as our purpose is concerned, we do not have to look at the Ind AS 113 from the point of view of reporting, or from the point of view of accounting, or from the point of view of auditing. We have to understand Ind AS 113 from the viewpoint of valuation. Now, from that perspective, Ind AS 113, why it is required? It is required because, as you would have noticed since our discussion, uh, there are many assets and the liabilities in any business that requires fair value computations. And remember, if there is a requirement of fair value computations, and if the choice is given to everybody, then what is going to happen? There will not be any consistency, there will not be any uniformity, and therefore the financial statements of all the companies will not be comparable with each other. As a matter of fact, it would be just not possible to draw any conclusion by looking at the financial statements. And that is the reason why do we have Ind AS. Ind AS, of course, is the modified version of the IFRS. As I'm sure all of us know this, IFRS is the global knowledge, language of financial accounting today. And what we have done in India, we have adopted, we have adapted, not adopted, we have adapted the indices in this country with suitable modifications, carve-ins and carve-outs as they are known. There are 39 different indices which are in force today. And just for your information, today all the companies having a net worth of 250 crore and above, for them, preparation of the accounts as per Ind AS has become mandatory. Insurance companies, banking companies, NBFCs are still out of the purview of the indices, but they are likely to be within the purview of index from the next financial year. There are 39 indices, and the purpose and objective of all the 39 indices is same, and that is to ensure there is consistency, uniformity in the accounting done by corporates all over the country. Within that basket of 39 indices, there is one which is 113, which is on fair value measurement. And fair value measurement becomes very critical, very crucial, because unlike in the past, and I'm sure you will remember, unlike in the past, the focus in accounting was on the historical accounting. And now there's a shift from the historical accounting to fair value accounting. And what is the meaning of fair value accounting? The meaning of fair value accounting is, today the focus is not to show your balance sheet on the historical cost basis. Today the focus is to make your balance sheet based on the fair value basis. And why fair value basis? Because only when the assets and the liabilities that you have in your balance sheet, they reflect the current value, then only somebody can make a real sense out of it. Otherwise, if an asset is being shown at a historical cost, you will not really be able to figure out as to conclusively your judgment. And that is why you have the indices, and within the indices you have Ind AS 113, which is on fair value. Because fair value, as you would have noticed, and as we have discussed from time to time, many assets, many liabilities will require fair value computation. So if the fair value computation has to be done, then the Ind AS 113 comes into the picture. All of us are studying the valuation, so Ind AS 113 becomes very critical and crucial for every one of us. So what this Ind AS what this Ind AS 113 from the valuation perspective has done? Number one, it has defined what is fair value. And remember, what it has defined is how we have discussed the fair value, right? So what is fair value? Fair value is the value which is, fair value is the price at which an asset is sold, or asset is transferred, or a liability is settled between two willing market participants, where there is no other consideration other than the one which is being paid or received at arm's length, that is what is fair value. So this is how we have understood, and this is how it has been defined in the Ind AS 113 also. It has also given a framework for measuring of the fair value. Now we will understand what that framework is covered under Ind AS 113. So first of all, remember friends, Ind AS 113 does not mandate any method or approach to be followed by an entity. So Ind AS 113 gives you what are the income approaches that you can have for the purpose of valuation. But Ind AS 113 will give you three levels of hierarchy for measurement of the fair value. But it does not tell you that this is what you should go for. It has given you the basket. You need to pick and choose based on what your situation is. What your situation is, what we have discussed. So this is number one. No particular mandate from the Ind AS 113 that this is what you have to do. No, it tells you three approaches as we have discussed. It tells you the hierarchy of the fair value measurement, but it does not mandate this is what you have to do. Valuation technique which an entity uses must maximize the use of relevant observable inputs and minimize the use of unobservable inputs. Will somebody tell me as to what will you understand by the observable inputs and the unobservable inputs? Anyone?
Which are sir, essential to the transaction, or which are the relevant to the transactions.
Okay.
Only we will observe those inputs. Irrelevant things should be neglected.
All right. Okay. Anybody else? Yes, Surya.
Observing to reading information available, unobservable, no information available, we have to make some adjustment.
Adjustment. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Surya, you also want to say something?
Observable means you have some reliable data.
You have.
For the reliable data, we have taken some decision.
Right. Very good. Very good.
It is not much reliable. You have some data. You may not have some data. You will be having some data which may not be reliable. You will be doing some adjustment.
Absolutely. Very good. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. So we will understand as to what is observable data and what is unobservable data. But in simple words, remember friends, observable data means something which is authentically available in the public domain. Any information which is authentically available in the public domain is observable inputs, and unobservable inputs are contrary to it. That means something which is not available in the public domain, something that you need to dig out, and that is your unobservable inputs. We will discuss it in more detail, but at this point in time, just understand something which is available in public domain, observable inputs. Something which is not available in the public domain, you need to dig it out, and that is your unobservable inputs. So, and these are the approaches that you see on the screen, which have been prescribed under the Ind AS, and I'm sure all of you would very clearly recollect that these are the approaches that we have discussed also. I would again like to mention once again, though we have discussed this point 2-3 times, remember the cost approach and the asset approach, these terminologies are used interchangeably, so you should not at any point in time get confused about them. Now, Ind AS 113 also prescribes a fair value hierarchy for measurement of value. Now, first of all, let's understand what is the meaning of fair value hierarchy. The meaning of fair value hierarchy is very simple. It means when a company has to do fair value measurement, it has 3 levels which it has to follow. What is level number 1? So firstly, what you have is level number 1. So what is level number 1? Level number 1 is quoted prices unadjusted. So if a company has to do the evaluation, fair value, has to measure fair value, what this company has to do, this company has to check, is is the quoted price available for the entity for which the valuation is to be done. If the quoted market price is available for the entity for which the valuation is to be done, then the quoted market price becomes the fair value for the purpose of Ind AS 113. So that's your level number 1. Now it gives the level number 2. And what is level number 2? Level number 2 is in case for a company the quoted market price is not available. And now please remember, quoted market price is an observable input. And why it is an observable input? Because this information is available in the public domain. So Ind AS 113 says that in case if the market quote is not available, then what is the next thing that you can do for measuring the fair value of the entity? It says inputs other than quoted price included within level 1 that are observable for the asset or liability either directly or indirectly using the multiples. So meaning what? Meaning if the quoted price is not available, then what you can do? You can do a relative valuation. That means using the multiple of an entity which is of the same kind as the entity for which you are trying to do valuation. So you use the information of an entity which is of similar kind as your entity for which you are doing the valuation, and you can use the multiples, and we will come to the multiples now. You will use the multiples. That means you will connect the valuation and some information about that entity, and using corresponding information of your entity you will find out the fair value. So that is your level number 2. And then you have level number 3, level 3 inputs, and that's where what you have unobservable inputs for the asset or liability. That means what? That means the first option is not available. So you want to do fair valuation, you want to measure the fair value of an entity, quoted market price is not available. Then you go for the second level unit. Second level unit is try a comparable company and identical company, similar company, and try and correlate the numbers of both these companies and derive at a fair value. That is also not available. Then what do you do? Then it talks in terms of label.
Your voice is breaking.
Yeah, actually I paused deliberately because I could sense that there was some disturbance in the net. All right. So we are at the level 3 input. So what is level 3 input? Remember friends, market quote is not available. Identical comparable company is not available. Identical similar or comparable company is also not available. Then how do you do the evaluation? You still have to do the evaluation because that is the requirement of Ind AS 113. So in that case, what you do? In that case, you use unobservable input. Now, what is unobservable input? Unobservable input is something which is not available readily. You need to work it out. You need to dig it out. And using that information, you do the fair valuation. Now, I want to ask you a question. Will the discounted cash flow method fit into level 3 input?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Sanjay. Okay. Devang? Surya? It will match?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very good. Ritesh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And friends, if your answer is yes to this question, then I am really very happy. Because if your number one, your answer is coming very promptly, and number 2, your answer is coming yes, and which is correct. So discounted cash flow, remember friends, is nothing but level 3 input. Because for using the discounted cash flow, what you are doing, you are collecting lot of information. You are digging a lot of information. Using that information, you are finding out the DCF. So that information is not available in the public domain. That information is not observable, and that is why it is unobservable input that you use for the purpose of discounted cash flow method. So there may be a question in the examination. There are three levels of input, and they would say market code, identical, unobservable input, and then they'll say something else as fourth one. And I'm sure if you have understood, then you will have no difficulty in answering that question. So now let's move, friends, to and understand as to what is the meaning of observable input. Though we have understood, quickly understand few examples also as to what can be the examples of observable input and the unobservable input. So as we discussed little while ago, observable inputs are publicly available information. So anything which is available in the public domain, it becomes observable input. Such input, of course, will be based on the market data. Examples: securities traded on stock exchange, prices for identical or similar assets in the market, quoted prices of future contracts available on commodities exchange. And remember, this is relevant. How this is relevant? Because the future prices will give you an idea of the trend about the price of the underlying asset. So quoted price of future contracts is available in the public domain. It's an example of observable input. Please pay attention here. There can be a question: which of the following is not an observable input, or which of the following is an observable input, or which of the following is not an observable input or is a observable input. So that kind of question you can expect. But if you remember, observable input would mean something which is available in the public domain, and that answers it for both questions. Something which is not available in the public domain, it becomes unobservable input. So available market data for rentals of properties is again a observable input. I am sure, friends, you must be reading many of these newspapers. They bring out issues about the real estate sector, and that's where in Delhi or in Mumbai or in Pune or in Chennai, the paper would tell you in the the different sections. In this part of Chennai, the ongoing rate is this. In this part of Pune, ongoing rate is this. So these informations are available in the public domain, and they can be used for the purpose of ascertaining fair value in respect of different assets. Now with
one confusion, sir. In the second example, sir, it is written prices for identical or similar assets in markets that are not active. If these prices are not active, then, sir, how we can consider this observable input, sir? Because these are not active, sir.
Yeah, see, even if they are, Ankit, even if they are not active, the fact that quote is available. See, active means it is not the frequency of trading is less. But even if the frequency of trading is less, it is still getting traded. So you still have the quote available of the company, and that quote which is available is in the public domain. So
prices, if the not active, then it means they are not the, sir, fair market prices, because the supply is more and the demand is less. It means the prices are not relevant to the market. So how we can take valuation on this ground, sir?
Okay, how you can not take the valuation on this ground? All right, okay. So now what I would like to tell you, Ankit, is this information available in the public domain?
Yes.
It is available?
Available.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
It is available in the public domain. Now, Ankit, this is what you must understand. The information is available in the public domain. That means it is an observable input for sure. Now, it is not necessary that every observable input you have to use for the purpose of valuation. Ultimately, you will use any information, observable or unobservable, only after ascertaining whether it is relevant for your case or not. So if the given information which is available in the public domain, it is an observable input. Now you have to take the call based on your situations whether it is relevant for the given case or not, whether it is going to give you a valuation, whether it is going to help you to arrive at the valuation or not. So if it is going to help you arriving at the valuation, you use it. And if it is not going to help you in arriving at the valuation, don't use it. Then you have to look for something which is more relevant actually. That is what it is. So please remember, answer to your question is very simple. Every observable input is not compulsory that you have to use it. You have to find out the relevance. You have to find out the pertinence. And then you decide actually.
So it can make adjustment, no?
Huh?
Some adjustment can be done. For example number 2, we can make some adjustment, no? So for property at Nariman Point, I have got the rate and my property is in different location. So I can make some adjustment.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Sanjay. Very, very good. Very good. All of you. I think that's a very good point. So remember, when you are doing the valuation, as valuer, ultimately remember, what is our objective? Our objective is to do the valuation. And that means what? That means we have to find out one way or the other to arrive at the value which is convincing to you in the first place, and then to your client, and then the client's counterparty. So that is what it is. So as Sanjay has very rightly said, now a place, an office is sold in Nariman Point. This information is available in the public domain. So it's an observable data. Now, if your office is also situated in Nariman Point, you can use it directly because same locality. So the valuation must be more or less same. But your office is not located in Nariman Point. It is located, let's say, in Kolaba or maybe in Valad Pier. Then you can make suitable adjustment. Okay, if the office is in Valad Pier, then I need to discount the value for this reason, and that you have to document. And what documentation you will do, what factors you will adjust, that is something which is not given in any rule book. That is going to be completely an open book. So depending on the situation that you are in, and you will take a decision at that time actually. All right, friends. So then let's go to the next one. So we come to now the unobservable inputs. So of course you understand it now very well. So what are the examples of unobservable inputs? Number 1, internal forecast of cash flows from intangible assets. Intangible assets, tangible assets, internal forecast per se of your organization becomes an unobservable input. Remember, this is not available in the public domain. It is only with you. So it is an unobservable input. Then adjustment to current prices of similar properties. For example, physical conditions and location is again an example of unobservable input. Then estimates of growth expectation and profitability when calculating goodwill impairment test. Now remember, these are all examples. Now this is not an exhaustive list. This is just to give you a flair as to remember your objective is to do the valuation. And for doing the valuation, whatever is required to be done, whatever digging you have to do, because ultimately, unless you gather that information, you will not be able to do the valuation. So estimates of growth expectation, I am sure you would remember when we spoke about the discounted cash flow, we also spoke about estimation of growth rate for the explicit period, growth rate for the terminal period. So that is all you have to find out. So this becomes unobservable input, and I'm repeating it once again. Unobservable input means something which is not readily available in the public domain. Observable input means something which is available in the public domain. And then profit margin expectation, right? So when you have to use the discounted cash flow, how will you do the discounted cash flow? You will do the discounted cash flow by making financial projections. How will you make the financial projections? Do you have your financial projections available in the public domain? Of course not. For the purpose, you will have to create them. So those are the again example of unobservable input. So basically this is what you will do in different situations. And as I said, yes, Ritesh.
These are the adjustment area, we can say. And difference of opinion is here.
Yeah, so that means Ritesh, just pay attention. Level number 1, level 1 input, market quote, direct information, use it, fair value, period. No question asked.
Yes.
Level 2, market quote is not available, company is not listed. If the company is not listed, level 1 input is not available. Then you have to go for level 2 input. So how do you find out the level 2 input? You find out the level 2 input, for example, the kind of company that you have. Do you have a similar kind of company listed on a stock market? And if you are able to identify a similar kind of company listed on a stock market, pick up the market quote of that company, do the study of both the companies. If you find there are certain structural differences between the two companies, adjust the market price of the other company for these structural differences so as to arrive a reasonably accurate fair value of your company. So that is your level number 2. Now remember, ultimately we have to do the valuation. So level 1 is not available, level 2 is also not available. What do we do? Do we tell the client, sorry, we can't do the valuation? Of course not. What we do, then we go for the level 3. Level 3 is what? Discounted cash flow. So level 3 is what? Now you use the discounted cash flow, because discounted cash flow, all the informations you will have to dig out, and that is how it becomes. So what I have shown you, Ritesh, on the screen are just few of the examples. This list can be expanded like anything. So that is what it is actually. Does it answer your question, Ritesh?
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay, good.
Sir, I have one question.
Please.
Sir, suppose we are valuing a hotel
Yeah.
with 100 beds,
Uh-huh.
and I have an information that a similar hotel has been sold at say some X amount.
Right.
But I want to go with the DCF method instead
Right.
of using that. But as per the India, they are saying that if you are having a level 1 input,
Yeah.
then when it is not available, only then you go to a level 3. So
Sure.
is this my discretion that I can overlook level 1 and go for level 3, or I have to follow the level 1 to 3?
Excellent question, Anil. Excellent questions. Now please understand, the purpose of Indes is different from the purpose that you will be doing for valuation.
Okay.
And please remember, and this is what all of us should always remember, whether it is Indes or it is the corporate governance or it is the SEBI regulations or it is any other statute, what is given in all these documents is the minimum that you have to do. If you are doing something better than that, nobody is going to raise an eyebrow on you as to why did you do that. So as far as Indes 113 is concerned, Indes 113 has given a clear cut hierarchy of the fair value measurement. Market quote number 1, market quote not available, comparable company number 2, that is also not available. Then you have a unobservable input. That means dig out the information, and based on the information that you dug out, you decide the fair value, and that's where the discounted cash flow will come in the picture. Now coming to your question, that you have a hotel that you want to value, and a hotel of similar kind has been sold or has been valued in the recent past. So if your hotel and this hotel, okay, if your hotel which you are doing the valuation, if it is quoted take the quoted price as the fair value. Okay, take the quoted price as the fair value, and remember, if you are a listed company, and then you will have to not only take the quoted price, but you will have to take the quoted price taking into account the SEBI regulations, because SEBI regulations will prescribe as to how many weeks quote you need to take and average it and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, so assuming that your company is not listed, your company is unlisted, your hotel is unlisted, so then what you do, then you compare, you want to find out the fair value of your hotel. How do you find it out? So you will look for another hotel which is of same kind and listed. So let's say if you are able to find out a hotel which is of having same 100 number of beds in the same locality of Delhi that the other hotel is, then you can pick up the quote of the other hotel, make it adjustments if it is necessary, use that as a fair value. Okay, now if that is also not available, that means what, you have a hotel, you want to do the valuation, your hotel is not listed, level 1 is not available, there is no other hotel of this kind in the locality at all, forget about the number of beds, so then the second level 2 is also not available, then what is the option that you have is the level 3. So what is level 3? Use the unobservable
Can I take average of the level 1 and market quote as well as the GCF?
Excellent. Okay, excellent. Now remember, so okay, so what you have to do is, for the purpose of valuation, and I'm not talking about for the purpose of reporting, I'm talking for the purpose of valuation. Now for the purpose of valuation, if you are able to use the level 2 input and you want to further supplement it with the level 3 input and you want to average it out, remember, it's your discretion, it's your judgment. Only thing is
There are things that you cannot do average out.
who says?
In that class only, the 50-hour class, I have asked somebody.
No. See, look at the standards. You have two standards. You have IVSC, that is International Valuations Standards Committee, IVSC standards, and then you have the standards given by ICAI. So refer these standards, and nowhere the standards has said that you cannot do the averaging. No, please remember, valuation is a matter of opinion. Valuation is a matter of opinion of an expert. So you are the expert who is doing the valuation.
Here, I only said the method is not prescribing, average. We can give only the range of value.
Oh yes, of course, very true, Surya, absolutely right.
But I only said, I'm sorry, Narayan here.
No, perfectly fine.
We can give the range of value.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not correct to take average of 2.
Right.
That's not the situation here. Moreover, the 1 and 3 fair value, it's only an accounting standard.
Right.
Moreover, the disclosure requirements are there.
Right.
Whatever the way that you adopted, you are going to give the disclosure,
Right.
so that the user of the statement will aware of what
Correct.
is being done.
Correct. Absolutely. Very good, Surya. Very good. So remember, there is no restriction in giving the average. Only thing that we need to remember, anything that you are doing, you must be able to substantiate it actually. So if you want to average it out, and I can give you a quick example of a company that I valued. I did a valuation of a company which for 5-6 years was making losses. And losses meaning the net worth was completely eroded. So first 6-7 years it was in losses, net worth was completely eroded, and it last through 2-3 years the company made profit. As much as by the current year in which I was doing the valuation, the net worth has become positive. And now the company gave me the projections which were quite interesting. I mean, quite showing good growth. What I did, I factored all the 3 periods. So what I did for the past, I used the asset method,
Okay.
and for the current I use the income capitalization method, and for the future I use the discounted cash flow method. So I calculated the cash flow for three different periods, and in my own judgment I said the loss period should be given a weightage of 1. The period when the company has earned profit, the weightage should be 2. And for the projections, the weightage should be 4. And why weightage should be 4? Because there is an uptrend in the profitability, and therefore the weightage would be 4. And this is how I combined all the things together and did the evaluation, and which was absolutely fine. So averaging is absolutely fine. Only thing, remember, you must be able to substantiate it actually, why you are doing it actually. And plus what Surya said is also true. So you can do this, you can do the averaging, and then you can give a range, and which is again a matter of your judgment, considering all the factors.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
It means, sir, whenever we have to take a fair value, we have to go